live back again here at the Fields of Cupid rehearsal number 6.
Number 6.
And this is, 6 weeks in. If you're confused, I'm Dani.
And I'm Fiona.
And, what's my subscriber threat this week?
You're getting too good at this.
Am I? I feel like I'm losing wind as this series goes on of things to think about. What can I say? All of your dance shoes will have holes in them. If you don't subscribe right now, every single one of your ballet tights, actually, I think I'm going a bit too far aiming for the tights. They're going to have holes in them regardless.
That is rough.
Your ballet shoes, your jazz shoes, everything. Even your socks when you go to contemporary, they're going to have holes in them. I don't care. And it's going to be like one of those one of those holes in your socks that just goes around one toe. So it's just like grim and it's cutting off your circulation. So make sure you subscribe or you follow us if you're listening to us on Spotify, and that is my threats done for today. So welcome back.
Hi everyone.
Oh bless. So as you can see, me and Fiona look like we've been through the ringer this morning.
So we've had our class in the morning this morning, so we've done our contemporary class and then 3 hours of fun choreo. I love it. I do adore it. The drama. Literally
the end where you're obviously going to have to buy your Fields of Cupid tickets to come and see the real experience of what we're talking about.
MK Dance Theatre website, www.mkdancetheatre.com.
Absolutely. And you'll find that link in the description below.
Yeah.
And if you're on Spotify, then you have to come over to YouTube to find that description, or just follow the link that Fiona just said. So it's like the drama of like all of the popping and like the twitching and the feeling like the puppet master is in control. It was so much fun. Like the improv exercise we did this morning, so bizarre. We had like a sheet of paper and we had to like follow the paper that someone else was holding, and like whenever they scrunched it up or threw it, we had to dive and roll. I feel so bad for Amy because bless her heart, I was partnered with Amy and I was just going scrunch, throw, scrunch, throw, toss the sheet of paper. Bless her heart.
Poor gal, you're so destructive.
I can't help it. I just have a lot of energy.
I thoroughly enjoyed that interpretation. I won't lie. It helped. I know it sounds wild, but it did help later on when we did improv by ourselves to think, what could this sheet of paper do? It could fold this corner. I haven't rolled yet. I haven't scrumpled yet. Variety.
When we were trying this improv exercise out in the morning with the development group, but bless, one of the development group put their hand up and went, "Can we rip the paper?" And Owen was like, "Well, people don't rip in half.
Let's try to keep whole." Like it was like if they do accidentally, then I was like,
oh bless. It was really cute.
Injury.
No.
Poor gal.
No ripping of thighs or anything. We do not need injuries at this point in the process at all. It's always a massive stress. Especially people, seeing as in this show, no one is, unlike previous MKDT shows, no one is really double cast. No. So we really need everyone that are listening, please just stay healthy. We cannot have you going out. We cannot have you going out on the last week. It feels like Pandora vibes. Do you remember back in Pandora when we were banking on like Jess not getting COVID? Because if she did, that would have just been the show gone.
No one else.
No one else double casted that, so we were just stressing. Yeah,
so obviously we have a few elements where, sure, people throw themselves on the floor, choreography, but in a way, hopefully, that is safe enough and comfortable enough for them to for it to not affect them weeks down the line. This is the thing.
Maybe when they're like 70, it will affect them, but not right now. Because sometimes I do feel, because now that obviously I'm becoming like the OAP of MKDT,
it's not just you, I promise you. I am absolutely within that league.
Like there is some things now that Owen asks us to do or Jess asks us to do, and like I just see the younger people just get down so easily, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm getting old, but I'm okay.
By the end we can. We push through it. Like we totally do it, whether our bodies like it or not. We will be doing the flips. We will be doing. We will be throwing ourselves on our knees. However,
I just hope that when I'm older, I'm going to be such a cool old person. I don't ever, because a bit of Danielle law here, right? So my brother and my mum used to work in like old people homes and did a lot of palliative care. So it was like dementia and end of life. And it so bit of a severe job. But what my mum said, there was a really funny story about how obviously if you have, when you assume that when you get older you get a little bit less mobile and you know, but she said that she used to have one old lady that used to be able to just do yoga, and then she said like the contrast between people. I want to be the yoga lady. I want to be like
the legs in knots, you know.
No, I want to be
stretch.
I want to be 90 and still be able to like confidently at least do a plie confidently lunge
without falling out of it and then breaking something.
Yeah,
it would be pleasant.
Yeah. I'm training my OAP body now so that when I'm older I don't have a nasty fall and I'll be able to keep myself rearing and moving. I never want to be like the sort of person that hits a certain age and goes, oh, I'm 50 now, I can just do what I like, and then they're just like, I can't be bothered with it anymore.
Keep walking.
I want to do it. I want to keep healthy, guys. That's the message of that. But also, today isn't just any normal Into MKDT episode.
Yeah.
As we mentioned previously back at episode 1 of Into MKDT, that the traditional style of this podcast, where we would focus strictly on the show that we were doing, wasn't just fading away completely. We would make a return, and thus today is the day we come into the special episode of Into MKDT, which is, drumroll please, Fiona, that is a rubbish drumroll. Into Love! Obviously, it's about the god of love, so we have to call it Into Love, otherwise none of it would make sense. I can't really call it Into the Fields, because then it would just sound like a rip-off Gardener's World.
Yeah, why are you frolicking in the fields with the lambs? It's not giving. Yeah,
it's very Eastery.
Yeah, it's selling Easter rather than Fields of Cupid, which Owen would not be happy with.
No, absolutely not. But anyway, with today's episode, we're going to have a very big mishmash of getting into the minds of the creatives of Fields of Cupid, because obviously the Fields of Cupid as a show has never been done before. It's an original piece. The storyline has been completely crafted by our lovely company director Owen Lane, and we have obviously a big massive creative team behind it, so it's going to be like a mega mash of all the minds that come together to actually put the production on stage, and the media crew are just here to, you know, vibe and chill. You know,
we'll set the scene for you from a cast perspective as well, I guess.
They bring the info, we bring the saz. Snaz. I can't speak today. Sass?
Pizzazz?
That
was like a...
Clearly, I also bring the inability to pronounce myself. Oh my gosh! Help me!
Cut! Moving on! So, today we'll be focusing around.
It's just been such a hard rehearsal. I can't... I think I've suspended myself on too many times over my head, and now I just can't piece my language together.
Your brain is just scrambled.
That is it. My brain has just cancelled itself out. But what we will be doing today in this episode is we're going to be talking to Owen Lane, obviously the costume and the stage production team under Olivia Beckett, and we'll also be talking to Jess, obviously getting in behind the scenes of the contemporary side of the choreography.
Yeah.
But obviously Owen sits on both sides of the choreography, so he's going to have an awful lot to say. I do apologise in advance if this is a 2-hour episode. It's such a vibe. It is a vibe, because obviously, whilst me and Fiona, or Fiona and I, if you want to be grammatically correct about the whole thing, are dancing in the production, we're only getting tidbits. I think I've been quite, you know, loyal to the human side. I haven't watched any of the Angels choreography strictly.
Yeah.
I haven't been searching into any of the extra lore, any of the details, because sometimes, especially with productions like these, it very much gives me the essence of Pandora, where every week Owen comes in and says, right, we're adding something else, and it's just like, okay. But it always turns out all right. So.
Oh yeah, flashback to scene 0. Speaking of rehearsal processes, extra bits and bobs, new scenes that we're working on. yeah, Fields of Cupid, into love.
So
here we are.
What is our understanding of Fields of Cupid so far?
Oh, okay. Right, this is the thing. As a cast, we're kind of at the moment we're divided into sections of humans and angels. So they are like the bigger categories of our characters, I guess, of the people we play. Next week we will be merging
For Super Saturday.
for the first time. I am so excited. Yes. Humans and angels will be both in. We'll be able to link some of our scenes together.
Yeah.
So that should be great.
Absolutely. I'm really excited because we've already had Olivia M asking us about what it's like to have the humans choreography, and I think it'll be really interesting for people to see each other's sides and how different the dynamics are, and ultimately how genuinely quite different the technical aspects of the work has.
Massive contrast.
Honestly, I was sat with the development group one week and we did watch a bit of The Angels just to do a creative piece. And just the difference in the usage of floor.
Yeah, you can put it lightly that way if you wish.
I'm just saying,
We've become very friendly.
we're floor
as
huggers.
a cast, as a humans cast
Yeah.
with the floor.
And our big man Hofesh coming in a lot with the...
Yes,
That was-
fresh contemporary styling, weaved in and out.
That was my favourite part of today, is obviously I was introduced to the bit of the Hofesh stuff prior to Fields of Cupid because I do classes with Owen outside of MKDT, and with the contemporary I was like, oh yeah, I'm really excited to get into Hofesh with MKDT and learning the Hofesh stuff, and then all of a sudden Hofesh had emotions. People were like, this is happy Hofesh, this is sad Hofesh, this is confused Hofesh.
This is our way of keeping ourselves entertained. Drawing all emotions that we feel throughout the whole thing into one little Hofesh motion.
But it's really interesting. I think choreographically and story wise, obviously we're going to get into it a lot with Owen. Very, very detailed, very tough, very tough. I think personally for me, it's definitely, if I had to put two shows, like if I had to say what show pushed me performance wise and what show pushed me technically wise, I would say that performance wise I'd say Caraboss, because it was definitely something different for me. It was evil but not fire and brimstone evil. And then you had and I would definitely say Fields of Cupid has been the show so far, and we're only 6 weeks in, so I can't wait to see how much torture my body's going to go through
from here. Yeah, I would say that like Pandora was definitely a stamp for me, like technically and performance wise, because I'm less comfortable in a ballet or classical style than I am contemporary. However, so that was something that really pushed me. However, this like part of contemporary, this corner is something that I really have not got enough into, and I am really really investing in it now.
I'm really enjoying it. I'm surprised at how much I can do. Because I was going into this, and when obviously it was made aware that the humans were very contemporary based, I knew that meant that backwards rolls were coming. I was petrified, if I'm quite honest, and now I have to do. I'm doing backwards rolls, forwards rolls. I'm doing. By the way, a forwards roll, such a slay. Love a good forwards roll. Anyway, I think we just bin the backwards rolls, make them all forwards rolls, and it'll be great. It would save my neck a lot, but it was really. I was genuinely quite surprised at how I was able to access the stuff that we were doing, because I thought it was going to be a real struggle, and I'm not saying that some of it still isn't, because floor work has never been my forte, but the way that Jess and Owen have put it across to me, like I can't actually thank them enough, because it's made me a lot more confident to be able to, like, if I said to myself pre-back injury, you'll be able to suspend on your hands, essentially you can cartwheel, you can do all of these sorts of cool floor tricks, I'd be like, You're having me on. Like, where's the cameras? This, like, you're trying to trick me.
A liar.
You're a liar. Shut it, Shanice. Yappa, yappa, yappa. Like, it was... but yeah, it's been genuinely very, very, very cool. Well, obviously we're only... Well, I keep saying we're only 6 weeks in, but we've only got... We've not got that long on the other side.
At all.
No.
First weekend of June, so it's moving fast. This is the thing. We have covered, from my knowledge, I don't know where, like, how the angels are getting on, and I feel they're picking up quite quickly, but we have covered quite a good chunk of the storyline thus far. I mean, there's a lot to piece together here. We
only have one group section left.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So we've actually done all of our content, bar one group section, which we've already started creating anyway. Yeah. So actually, I feel like, I don't know the angels side, maybe we will get a bit more info on that from Owen and Jess. But I think, good job, humans. We're doing good. I think we're doing good. Yeah. Hopefully we're doing good. Are we doing good, Owen?
We will soon find out.
We will soon find out when I get a text going, no. Like, there's so many things I'm genuinely really excited for this production. I think it is quite simple in its construction. It's very, very, and I think it's really lovely, and it really reminds me of the original Romeo and Juliet. It's very stripped back. I'd say Fields of Cupid is very raw. Yes. It's very raw. And that's what I'm really excited to get back into. I don't think we've done something like this since R&J, the original R&J. I would say that our latest R&J was a little bit more lavish than the original.
It was. Bless.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. It was very different. And that's why I think they are their own productions in their own right. But yeah, that's what I'm really excited for, is just to really, really embrace the rawness of this and really have fun with just understanding that it's not just emotion in the face, it's everywhere. Like, your body is bleeding. You need to, like, sorry, that was really dramatic.
Yeah, it was a little dramatic.
Sorry.
The music and the choreography really promotes the drama, the intensity of the storyline, written so well by director Owen Lane.
Like, the music this time, like, I can't get over how many bangers we've got on the track. It's genuinely.
Yeah, there have been times we've been practicing certain pieces of music, and Owen's like, "This is your actual music," and I'm like, "Yes!"
Your reaction today, that when the music was playing and Fiona was like, "Oh, this is really nice," and Fiona and Owen was like, "It's your music," and Fiona went, It was like just seeing, like, a candle light up. It was just brilliant. I just saw you from across the room and you were like gagged. Yes. There's been a lot of screaming on this episode. But that's how excited we are. We're just very, very enthusiastic. I think it's an interesting production, and I feel like people will miss out if they don't see it raw on stage. Because
now or never, really.
Genuinely, you can go nowhere else to get this storyline, this choreography. It is only here. It's exclusive to MKDT.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very, 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 very promising production. So I think it's now time that we bring on our guests, because we can sit here and waffle all day about how much we love it.
Yeah.
But I think we go to the real experts of the Fields of Cupid.
Let's get to the roots here.
The minds behind the Fields of Cupid. So now we're going to get back to Owen Lane, our company director, the man behind the myth, if you so will.
It is time to do that.
Let's go. So let's head on over to Owen Lane.
Woo.
So we are here with the wonderful company director, that is Owen Lane. How are you feeling, Owen? Obviously, it's been a long time. I say a long time. We've had you on the podcast last season, but welcome back.
It hasn't been that long. It's lovely to be back, guys. All good. Everything is okay. Everything's happening at breakneck speed at the moment, so just trying to keep up with everything, to be honest, but we're doing all right. We're doing okay, I think.
So obviously this is the special episode of the podcast Into Love, getting all things into Fields of Cupid. And of course, we couldn't do a Fields of Cupid episode without the person where it came from, because it's an original piece. So, of course, I couldn't start this conversation without saying what was the inspiration? Where did Fields of Cupid come from? What was this brain baby, and how did it suddenly arrive?
That brain baby is quite a good way to describe it, really. I mean, to be honest, it's been quite a long, changeable, creative process, really, for this one. Unlike the last original, which would have been Pandora, it's not a story. It's not really. It is, but it isn't. If that makes any sense at all. It came from a painting as the original idea, as opposed to a scripture or a book or anything like that. So it was. Oh gosh, when was that? Maybe 2021, I think, when I went to the V&A in London, just as a visitor, not really looking for any inspiration as such, just there to look around, as you do. And yeah, I saw this wonderful painting. Yeah, it's called Cupid's Hunting Fields, the original painting. And it was just such a different take on Cupid and who he is and what he means. And as opposed to, we all know the cherub baby, nappy, arrows, Valentine's Day, all that garbage. And then, not cynical at all. And then this painting depicts him blindfolded, so almost stripped of his choice of who he's shooting with these arrows, and not in a baby form, it's a grown male form. I just thought it was really interesting. It's a twist on what everyone thinks they know. So it kind of was birthed there, and then it kind of other things were going on. I think we were still doing Pandora when I first saw this painting.
Wow.
That's how long ago it is. And yeah, it was kind of like put in this. Brian took a picture of it and kind of stored it away for future reference. And then I've kind of just gathered bit by bit over the kind of 2 years in between when I saw it and when we've started to go with this process. And I just went down a rabbit hole, really, with Cupid and the historical side of Cupid and what's led him to the thing we know now. See, all the way back to the ancient Greek stories of Eros, which is where it comes from. And yeah, just really like deep dive into the history behind it and all the different stories over time. Gradually I've been doing that, and then I've just kind of woven together my take on it, or what I felt was relevant to what we want to do and what would be expressive of what the world is maybe now as well. So yeah, long kind of twisting and turning pathway for this one, but no, it's been very enjoyable, and it's very nice to see it kind of coming to fruition now on the dancers and seeing them slowly embody these characters that have been in my head for a couple of years. And it's really lovely to see, but long process, but hopefully it'll hit all the right notes. You know me, I like to make an audience member cry if at all possible. I like the emotion, and it's certainly going to be emotional. So yeah, should all be good. Hopefully, fingers crossed.
So Fields of Cupid is quite a different production structure-wise, and in the way that you've gone about choreographing. So does this feel right for the company now? So due to like its growth in the last few years, does this feel good dynamic-wise for the cast?
Yeah, I mean, every production we do, I will sit here or sit and talk to whoever and say, I know what's coming, because I do. I know what's coming right the way through to the end of 2025, 2026. So I know what the plans are in terms of this is what approximately I'd like to do. I'd like to have this production, and then I want to bring this one back, but the reality is that until you see who's around at that time, who's involved, what type of dancers you've got, you can't pinpoint yourself to one, but just because without the right dancers you can't produce what you want. I can do everything I want as a choreographer, as a creative, to make something, but if I don't have the correct cast, not fair on myself, because I won't end up in the place I want to. It's not fair on the dancers because I'm giving them the wrong things to suit themselves. It's something we've always done. We've always prided ourselves on making pieces and things that make whoever we have to work with, great at what they do. Take right the way back David in the first production, he rocks up not knowing anything, but he still went on stage as Romeo. So we found ways, and that's what we always try and do. So when it came to this, I made the decision we were going to do this only in about October, I think. And I just had this story, like I said before, in the back of my head, and I felt the way it was structured would just suit what we were doing. And there were other external factors as well. It came to light in kind of December that we had a few dancers that were umming and ahhing, can I, can't I, should I commit, shouldn't I, I've got GCSEs, A-levels, etc. And I felt that this production was within it able to house all those people, so they were still able to commit to something and feel like it's fulfilling, hopefully, to them without impacting their GCSEs. So it's a whenever I pick which piece is going to come next, it's always done under review, and lots of thought goes into that process. But certainly I the reason we're doing this one now is because I felt like I had the right dancers to tell the story, both from the top of the cast all the way through to our youngest members. So two lovely groups of dancers for separate reasons. They're doing different styles, but I think it will hopefully certainly translate when we hit the stage, that everyone looks solid and comfortable and happy within what they're doing, the step basis. But yeah, that's kind of why it was decided that we'd do this one now, really.
And it's interesting, obviously, you bring up the point that it's two different choreographic styles going on with the cast. You've got it split down the middle with the contemporary and the neoclassical. So kind of delving into the choreographic side of the piece, what are you excited about seeing on stage when it comes to this choreography?
I'm excited about a few things for this one. I've got, I mean, you guys will know because you're in rehearsals, don't want to spoil the fun. But you do know what we've been doing. So it's, I've tried a lot of new things that I haven't placed into performances before, choreographically. With Angels, for example, neoclassical is my comfort zone, perhaps, stylistically. It doesn't mean that it's been comfortable for them. It's comfortable for me.
Oh, gosh.
Neoclassical, by definition, pushes the boundaries of what's possible within their classical techniques and their abilities to push themselves technically and physically as well. How far they can stretch, which is great. But equally, I've toyed with a lot of things that I haven't done before, like big kind of corps de ballet structures where the corps de ballet frame the soloist in that moment or anything like that. I've not really done that before. We've had group sections, of course we have, but I've never kind of played with framing. And the reason I'm doing that is all the way back to the painting, because I wanted to frame the picture effectively. I wanted to keep referencing that. So that's why, for example, the humans are around the edges at the start, because they frame the story. I hope that will slowly become evident, but it's one of those little choreographic things that everything in this piece is framed. It all works around a picture base. It's got that hark back to the art side of it and where the original idea comes from, even if the story's kind of diverted away a little bit from that. It's a mold, so that's why we're doing that with them. And then with the humans, it's been very I openly admit it's out of my comfort zone, contemporary choreography. It's not the area that I have specialised in, or I've got loads and loads of history and background. I've done it, of course I have. I've performed it and I've studied it, but it's not necessarily my number one choice, and that's where Jess comes in as well. She supports my abilities to do that, and it's been a really good learning curve for me, as much as hopefully the dancers. And you guys will know, again, hopefully not to kind of ruin any continuity. I don't know what the continuity is on these podcasts, but last week rehearsal, you saw the humans anyone who thought this was going to be a fun, contemporary, easy ride, well, I hope that was slapped out of your heads last weekend. And I chucked that phrase. And the reality is the humans still don't know all of what they're doing. There's another scene before that, and there's a scene after that, and it will continue to stretch their ability. So I'm very excited to see the duality of the styles. I'm hoping that through my my personal choreographic style, there will be continuity and there'll be mergers within that. Yeah, it'll be very exciting. I'm hoping they'll complement each other nicely, and lots of exciting things to see, new things to see on stage. So maybe some of our previous MKDT audience members, it won't be the same. It will be something that they'll recognise as being new rather than something that's being repeated, and that's what's really exciting, because it comes off the back of a adaptation of an original work that we did. So it's like it's gone from being something that's half new, because Romeo was half new. We'd had a production and then we added to it and tweaked it, and now this is this new entity in name as much as anything. No one knows it. It's not like when people see Sleeping Beauty on a big poster or Peter Pan and they go, I know the story. So hopefully it'll be a really new and exciting thing, and the styles will hopefully complement everything that we're trying to achieve within it.
So one of the major themes within the piece that keeps being revisited is the different relationship dynamics that are created. How have you worked with the cast and the choreography to help portray that, and has it been challenging?
It's been very challenging. There are different challenges within that, because yes, the piece is Eros, Cupid, it's love, relationship, anything that kind of centres in around that area of human nature and mankind. Some of them are quite easy to portray in terms of we're using what I call a bare bones structure story. Whilst it is a narrative, there is a story to be told. The piece is not a narrative ballet or piece of work. The story is just a kind of vehicle to drive everything else that's going on, and I'm much more interested in the outwardly things, the things that happen away from the spine of that story. I'm not going to say there's no challenge. There's a lesser challenge to portray how Eros, Cupid, feels about Psyche, or towards the end, obviously, how that relationship reverses, because it's narrative, because it's in the acting and it's in the very fabric of what they do, wherein when we're trying to show and indicate the relationships within the humans and their sections, and maybe the relationship angels have with each other and as a group, the angels, it is a lot about their relationships are as a group. Another good thing about using that togetherness, that corps de ballet creative, is it's all about them being connected which in essence is their relationship, to being kind of one united being almost, wherein with the humans it's much more about showing how a couple or a trio or a twisted trio, as you guys all know, or a twisted quad, however we want to do, what the intricacies are in there, because that's more subconscious, or it's meant to be more kind of underneath it all. It's a challenge to show, and we haven't really yet. We're setting groundwork at the moment. We haven't really exceeded or expressed how that's going to be layered on top. So there's lots to come. The humans we'll be doing this coming weekend. Spoiler alert. If they hear it before. We'll be doing a lot of work on our facial expression and our facial work, because the humans can't just be like this, they can't just be pan. Sorry, it's not a visual medium, that's not going to translate. Can't just have like a pan expression or a smile or a sad look or an angry look. They have to be extreme. I went to see English National Ballet's Creature 2 weeks ago now, which is a really interesting piece, and the main character is called the Creature, and yes, the movement was amazing, the style, the way he did it, all great, but it was this extremity or like tortured nature through his facial expressions that really kind of tipped it over. So we're going to do a lot of playing with that shortly. People might start to look a little bit grotesque and warped and twisted and deranged, but that's going to be hopefully an added layer to help us display those relationships, because it's not easy, and it won't be easy to ensure that all of that has been completely translated across to the stage. But I'm happy with the groundwork we've made on that to this point. It's just it is just where we push on from there. Now it's important that we get loads of layers in there, so that hopefully if somebody wants to come and see it 5 times, because that's how many times it's going on stage, then they'll see something really different, and they will see differences because, as you guys know, there are improvisation sections. There are sections that will not be 100% will not be the same every night, and that's really exciting because it'll be as much a surprise for me as it will be for anyone else. So and I like that. I like when live theatre has you on the edge when you don't know what's coming, even when you've seen it.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully all going to kind of start to layer in, but it's a big challenge as it always is, to make sure that emotions are translated to an audience.
So obviously you've mentioned a bit there that it's a very multi-layered piece in terms of its thematic basis. But of course, there is also always a storyline. So maybe could you give us a brief explanation? Obviously, can't really reveal too many details because otherwise people have no reason to buy their tickets. But give us a brief rundown of what actually is this bare bones structure of Fields of Cupid.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, the bare bones... so we've kind of got... what are there, 5? So I'm just doing my maths now. I've got to make sure I'm telling the right information. There are 6 named characters. So you've got Eros, and we're using Eros. I know the piece is called Fields of Cupid, but the character is called Eros, and in the programme that's what it will read, who is the god of love. It was the god of love from ancient Greek stories. So there's him, there's Himeros, who is the god of desire, is Eros' brother. They are both born of Aphrodite, who, as we all know, goddess of love. We all know that one from from school, hopefully, from our ancient Greek studies. And then we've got Psyche, who is, she's a human initially. In the ancient stories, she was this incredibly beautiful creature who was so beautiful on Earth that people stopped worshipping Aphrodite and they began to worship her. So much so that eventually she caught the attention of Eros, who takes her to the heavens, which we do use that element of the story that's in there. And then we have their child, Hedone, who is a product of Eros and Psyche being together. And I know I said there were 6 at the start, but I think there are 5, so we're going to go back to my original number of 5. So there's those main characters. They are main characters because they drive our story. However, the story happens around them. They just kind of drive us along. So we're depicting Eros and Himeros' birth of Aphrodite. That's quite near the beginning. We see them discover their powers, see them how they can affect and react on the humans. We then see that part of which is an ancient Greek myth, where Psyche meets Eros and Eros falls in love and takes her up to the skies, back to the heavens with him. And then we divert away from stories that were there. So in this tale, his brother is not an evil character. He just he's the god of desire, so he has a slightly darker take on what the powers are. He was born to be that way. So he's more interested in kind of warping and twisting the humans to his will. So we see a bit of that. We see the depiction of them having a child, but then from that point, Eros kind of falls under the influence of his brother. They return to Earth, where we see Eros is shown what these powers, the darker side of his powers, because they have the same ability, just how they choose to use it. Now, the difference there is that Eros was never born or never made to be that way, so it's kind of challenging that idea of who we are. Are we born the way we are? Do we become who we are? And once Eros uses his powers in a way that he was never meant to, his personality, his soul, if you like, was never designed to do that, and then he becomes addicted in a way, warped to this twisted side of his ability, and that sends him down a dark turn, and then the story kind of tapers down from there, so we see his eventual demise towards the end following this broken mind. But that's kind of the bare bones. Like I said, I'm really interested in what happens around that story, but that is kind of what the structure we're working on from on this occasion.
How have you used the music to enhance your storyline, your choreography? And there's a mixture of modern and classical pieces there, so how did you come to those decisions?
Music is always a challenge. It's always a challenge because
absolutely.
I've never yet had the pleasure of having a composer who composes what I want and I can create with, and that would be quite standard practice in the bigger national companies all over the world for how they build pieces. Now that obviously means that I have to do a lot of pre-work to curate the music and gather what I feel works, how I feel it works. It's always really important to me how the music comes across. You guys will know that, having worked over a few years now. And when we do something like this, it is a challenge. Like you say, there are kind of very classical, pieces that hundreds of years old, and then there are your very modern ones, and it's how I link them that's the challenge, really. So with the Angels, it's about establishing power. So that's the first thing. I wanted to establish that these angels have got this strength to them, regardless of if they're moving freely or within that neoclassical style, they're zipping around the stage. They have this power, which is why the first piece is what it is. And I'm not going to say what it is because people can come in and be
no
shocked.
Spoilers.
But then it's, so for instance, you guys all know the first piece, without saying what it is, has got an organ base to it. So when I went, it's the hardest change from Angels Scene 1 to Humans Scene 1. But I managed to find a more modern piece of organ music, effectively, which links the two, because you link across the instruments. So that's when I have to hark back to my GCSE music the skills of 12 years ago now, to kind of link instruments as much as anything. So with the Humans, it was about finding music, and you guys will see when you get the eventual picture of your entire journey. It's finding music that goes from being perhaps plain in its structure to being quite complex and multi-layered. And as the show goes on, the music gets more twisted, and that's designed to depict the twisting of his mind. So the first kind of 30 minutes approximately before any twisting of his mind happens, all the music is quite, I'm not gonna say it's just nice, it's always got that underlying elements of power or flow, but the music is at most has 2 or 3 layers to it at any one point. And then as we move into that second half, when that mind warps and it starts to twist and turn, that's when the music starts to have those really multi-dimensional layers, and we start having kind of crossover music and things like that. It's a massive job to curate the music. I'm very happy with what I have managed to put together for this one.
Absolutely.
I think all the scenes, the more I kind of have working and the deeper we get into it, and the more ties I see when I see something from the first half kind of reappear in the second half. Again, no spoilers. It all starts to fit together, but it's always a massive challenge. The only time it wasn't was when we did Romeo and Juliet, and I just could take the original score that's already in place. So but it is a massive challenge, music, and it always will be. I'm fortunate that my dad was a musician, or is, I suppose, always will be. So we have very different ideas on what music is, and that's very good because he can challenge, and he always educated me on the classical side of music, because I grew up listening to classical music, and I still listen to classical music, and I would encourage anybody of any age to listen to it, and not just because it's good education or whatever, because it is genuinely that there's a reason that some of this music has been around for hundreds of years, and it's still so beautiful to listen to now. And so many people, young people in particular, I feel like I'm painting with a bad brush, but a lot of people are like, oh, classical music, I don't like classical music. Well, that's like saying I don't like one artist in one particular style, because that's how diverse and different classical music can be. So I do encourage people to listen to more classical music and discover all of this great repertoire, this massive repertoire of fantastic music that's out there. And I always enjoy doing it when we get to shows and we get to new creations in particular, because as much as anything, I just get to listen to a load of lovely music, and 95% of the music, probably more, that I listen to doesn't end up in the show. That's how much it takes a really long time. The music score took me about 8 months from start to finish, maybe. yeah, of just like listening until I really felt like I'd found, and I had different iterations, you know, scenes were on different bits of music, and I took things out and put something else in, and edited and mixed it together and layered it and warped some tracks to make them more suitable, you know, add some echo transitions, all that stuff. This is all the stuff that happens alongside the choreographic dancing aspect of what I do when I create these shows. It's really multifaceted, but it's a great, I love doing it. I wouldn't change that for anything. I do love curating the music and putting it together, and I love introducing it to these young dancers. I think it's really good. It's a massive part of when they do these creations, is that they discover all these new musical genres and styles and composers, and I hope, when you guys can probably answer this, maybe I'll throw a question at you, as you know, when I put these pieces of music on and you're dancing to them, and they're not, you know, your pop music or anything you might listen to, or most people would listen to on a regular day, and you dance it, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is making me feel things.
Yeah.
what is this?
Truly.
You know, yeah. So, and that's a really great pleasure. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a really nice, just like maybe unidentified or added bonus of what we do when we work with these kids, and open that door to all this whole new world for them. But yeah, no, music is certainly one of my big loves. So it's always a pleasure to piece it all together. That's for sure.
I think with the classical side of things, I think, speaking from my generation, painting us all with the same brush, that it's often deemed a style of music that's not accessible. It's always deemed to be of a higher society that we're not a part of. And that's why I always find it really enjoyable to come in and experience these styles actually being used in a way that I can connect to through dance. Otherwise, I think naturally it's just not a style that's encouraged because it doesn't speak for us, if you get what I mean. I mean that in big quotations, by the way. It's never looked at anymore as, well, it's just seen as historic. And I think that's where most of our generation tends to walk away from it, and where ultimately people maybe disassociate themselves with what it's trying to communicate or the emotions it comes across with. And you know, I think it's especially important, like what we do here at MKDT and what you're saying here with exposing the different genres and blending these different styles, is ultimately showing that what we've been saying and what we say in the modern day has been said for 100 years, just in different forms and in different styles. And it's making that link and making that bridge, which I think is, you know, a very important thing that we do.
Oh yeah, I mean, you've just said it in as far as these stories and things, they were told exactly the same. You think that the composers in the 1700s and 1800s, they felt differently to us. They didn't, you know, just because Adele writes a soppy sad love song now, you know, you compare it, you know, Tchaikovsky wrote some of the world's most beautiful love songs, you know, at a time in Russia when he was unable to love the person he loved because it was illegal, and he wrote some of the most tragic. You can hear it if you listen to it, and you know that was written for effectively what was a forbidden love. It's all there. You listen to it and you just hear it, and you can hear the tragedy in it, and it's the same, like you said, it's the same human interaction, storytelling through music, and it's always been there, you know. And it's just, it is nice that people can just educate themselves that it's there, really, you know, that is, they were the same, you know, we're still struggling with the same things now, and 300 years later, you know, it's all there. But yeah, no, exactly what you said, really.
So just getting into, I guess, almost this theme of repeating history, or what is the theme of humanity in Fields of Cupid. What does Fields of Cupid mean? What is the greater meaning behind it? I always like to ask this question when we do these productions, but what is the greater meaning of Fields of Cupid?
I always like to ask this question, and I always have to take a deep breath. I mean, for me, the greater, and I hope it will be really different for everyone, I think that's possibly something that is within this piece, is if this is what it is for me, but every audience member, every cast member, I think will connect to it in different ways and at different moments in the story. But for me, the overarching thing within it is about human relations. It's about intricacies. It's about who we are, and whether they're angels depicting an angel or a human, it's all the same. You know, you can take this story and put it into a modern thing, and you can look at, the angels are maybe rich bankers in London and the humans are impoverished people, you know, and the angels have the power and these people don't, and how did these people toy with these people? And just because they're toying with these people with powers in our story, it could so easily be they're chucking money at them, or they're depriving them, or things like this. So for me, it's the piece is about more or a wider aspect than just eros, psyche, love, tragedy, blah blah blah. It's much more about human interaction, human relations, and how intricate they all are, how intricately woven being a human is. You know, we take it for granted, but how much we think in a day, how our emotions fuel us. You know, I'm a very emotional person, so I don't mean that I just sit and cry all day long. I just mean that I am and always have been emotionally led, so I will lead from my heart, and I always have done and always will do it, and I won't apologise for it because it's who I am. But there are people who are logical thinkers, and they will only do things once they've thought about it 20 times or 50 times, and that shows how intricate we are as people, you know, people who are struggling with different things. And, you know, and I'm sure we have within our cast, we have a lot of young people, and I'm sure within them there are people who are struggling with things in their everyday lives. And I think this piece is just kind of opening up that thing. It's opening up a wider look at how all those intricacies are, and I want to show the layers, yes, with showing it in, like I say, set in this ancient Greek-esque story that twists and turns. I want them to see the layers of a person being powerful, in love, you know, having child, you know, seeing that relationship, and then crumbling of a mind that can lead to elsewhere, leads to that tragedy and a loss of power. You know, that's one shoot through, but there's also others, you know. There's reverses of that, and there's different kind of takes on that, on how intricate that can be. You know, when you give the power to the humans, for example, you give them that ability, and the angels pass their power. What happens if you give money to the poor, if you want to use that analogy? You know, what would happen to society? So would they rise up or would they crumble? That kind of thing. So yeah, that's the overarching, and I'm sure, and because of that nature, every audience member that comes to see it, I hope will connect to a different moment in the story, perhaps where they are at that moment in their own lives, or a moment when they can really relate to from their past, or something they look at and they think, I want that to be my future, I don't want that to be my future. That's the main thing in my head, but I'm sure people will connect to it in different ways.
Just to round it off, what are you looking forward to about show week and finally getting this piece on stage?
Probably too much to say in the remaining time of the podcast. I really love show weeks. They're what I always grew up on. They're what I know. When I get to show week, yes, it's stressful, but I always feel in control because that's where my experience is. So I just know what to do. And it's comforting in a way. I love seeing, you know, this show week's actually great. It's going to be a bit different because it's in the half term, so we have that little luxury of a bit more time at the theatre. Usually I spend the days from like 9 till 4 or 5 by myself, or with Callum, or the occasional staff member, and then kids show up for the evening and it's like, oh, we've got to get this done, we've got to get that done, go, oh, they're gone. So hopefully I'm really looking forward to seeing what the extra time will do for the piece. I think it's going to help us just to breathe more life into it. And then it's just, you know, for me, it's always, and this will sound so corny and cheesy, but it's just seeing dancers step on to the stage and become who the best versions of themselves. You know, every time we go to a theatre week, and you know, you'll kind of be looking at them in the rehearsal room and you'll think, have they got it? Can they do it? Is it coming? What's going to happen? And then they step out on stage and it happens, and you just go, oh, okay, that's great. Like, thank God. Like they did
God.
it. You know, but you think, and it's thank God for them. It's thank God, like, they did it. They achieved what they can. You know, they pushed themselves and they've got what they deserve and what they should have, you know. It's really exciting this time. We've got some of our old clan, our repeat
goodness.
dancers like yourselves,
Old age pensioners.
and whatever you say. I didn't say that. You know, your Harrys and your Amys and Georges and those kind of dancers yourselves who've been with us, Emily Cousins, people like that who've been with us for a long time. But they still, you know, they step out and they can still surprise me what they can do. And then we've got some very exciting new ones as well, you know, who've stepped in and shown us, you know, breathe new life into it. And it's very exciting to see what they'll bring to the stage as well. So, and some younger dancers who are coming through and who are kind of emerging now, you know, people like Charlie Bowen, who, you know, he's been with us a little while and he's just hitting that age now where he's kind of expanding his abilities and expressing himself more and moving himself to the front of the room, you know, and stuff like that. And that's lovely to see. So it's all different. I've got these people, like I say, I've got these people that I've known and I've worked with for a long time and they can surprise. I've got these new ones and I've also got people we know but are now kind of stepping up. It's a lovely thing to watch, you know. Kind of, you guys will know I'm sat here like surrounded by all of our posters and pictures and you can see all the signatures and all the names from original Romeo all the way through. And it's just this, obviously, this like moving conveyor belt of all these children who've been part of what we do. And the show weeks are always just a little kind of celebration, really, of what they've achieved and how far they've come. Some of them through all 5 productions, some of them just through the one. So, yeah, show weeks are fantastic. I do love being there, love being part of it. And like I say, hopefully this one will just be, because we're going to have even more time, hopefully it'll just be, I don't want to say chilled, but it'll just breathe a little bit more possibility into what the week can bring and how far we can push the show. Because until you get it on stage, you don't really know till you light it and you costume it and you see everything in order from distance as well, because studios are like here and right in front of my face and I'm like, oh, does this look good? Does this formation work? And we've never really had the opportunity when we step into the theatre to go, actually, it doesn't. This would be better. So I'm hoping that we'll have some opportunities to do that this time. So it should be a really, really exciting week, to be honest.
And I know we said that was the final question, but can we have a quick word to the development group who have been working very, very hard alongside us during this rehearsal? I'm sure they would appreciate a quick word just to say how you're thinking they're getting on and
of course,
what they've been doing.
Yeah, the development group it's a little new initiative that we launched, and it was really just because with Fields being a seniors only, senior always makes them sound really old, 12 and overs only.
Oh goodness, not again.
It was just very evident when we did an audition that there's that little gap. You know, we have that little gap between when maybe dancers are little fairies and they're kind of, or they're, you know, children dancers, and then they mature and they become our senior cast, and we realised there's just a little bit of a hole in the middle maybe when they're going through that change, and we just wanted to be able to support it. So yeah, we launched that program and had fantastic uptake. I think we've got 14 kids on it now, and it's great. You know, they're doing really lovely work. I think it's super beneficial. There is nothing better than being in the studio with dancers who are more mature than you or older than you and have experience, and being able to watch and learn there and then, not through videos or through watching them on stage once. You know, being there week in, week out, watching how dedicated they are and how hard they have to work and what is required to be a senior dancer. They've been into lovely work in the classes and then getting creative as well with adaptations of the choreography, and yeah, they're a really, really lovely group, and they're working very hard. Yeah, it's teaching us a lot as well. You know, we're still a young company and we're still developing our practice and developing what we can do and help. And, you know, our goal is always to offer the best we possibly can in dance training and education. And I use education a lot, and you guys will know I speak about dance education because I believe it's super important, not just to tell them do a plie, do a tendu, but how and why and what's the practical use of it and where it comes from and where it will lead to. And that's really, really important. And I think that this development group will reap a lot of rewards and benefits down the line for them as dancers. I hope they'll learn early. The earlier you can learn, the more time you have to implement and develop. So absolutely, they're doing a fantastic job, and hopefully long may it continue.
Of course. Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Owen. It's obviously been a pleasure as always. I hope you've enjoyed spilling all the information you can about Fields.
Anytime. I don't mind a good chat, you know that. Just don't like listening to myself afterwards, that's all. Yeah, so always good to catch up with you guys.
Obviously, the tickets are available now. So if you head on over to the website, that is www.mkdancetheatre.com. I'm reminding you a lot this episode to go and buy your tickets. And it's because it's important. It helps us do what we do. It helps us keep on growing. It helps us keep those generations coming up and hopefully getting what is the best of education and creating what is a very strong cohort of dancers for the future.
So yeah, just to piggyback on that a little bit, just with the tickets, I'd like to thank everyone first who's supported us in the first 4 years that we've been running. It really does mean everything to us that people are willing to spend their time and their money in coming to see these shows. It is just all about the kids, and every audience member that gets into a seat and watch, we hope that you are affected and you see that, and not only see what stories we're trying to tell, but you see the love and the dedication that these kids have for what they do. I really can't stress how important it is for people to come and watch and support us, and tell your friends and tell your family and anyone and everyone you can think of, because every ticket that's sold goes towards the future of what we do. It's not, we don't do this to make money. Who does if they're in the arts? We do it to support these kids, and we want to support these kids for many, many years to come. And the only way we can do that is if people continue to watch these shows. And I really, really do. We do everything we can to make the tickets as low cost as possible, as accessible as possible for people of all ages, all walks of life. Our shows are for everyone. They're not for the elite, or they're not for just arts, general theatre lovers. They're for everyone. That's how we design every show, and we do everything we can for everyone to see it. So please, I'm begging now for the future of these kids, not for my own benefit or anything like that. For the future of these kids, please get your tickets and come and watch them. They're amazing. They're fantastic at what they do. They love it, and all they want to do is perform for you. So please head over to that website and just smash buy on any tickets that you think, or buy them for family. It's Easter, it's time of giving. so hand them to everyone. I hope it will be a fantastic show for everyone to enjoy. So please do come and support those young dancers. They're really fantastic at what they do.
So we're now moving over to Liv, who will be walking us through all sorts of costume and that visual design. So again, one more time, thank you very much, Owen, for coming on. And
thank you, Owen.
We will
welcome, guys.
Moving over to Liv. And hello back, Liv. It's good to have you back on. I don't know how many times you've been on now, but...
Oh, it's good to be back. But yes, I feel like I have been on this show a lot.
I think you're like our most frequent guest ever. I think we have you on a lot.
I will happily take that title.
You've been on every season.
Every season?
Every season. I think you've been on
For
bar
a welcome
one.
feature, Liv.
So I think that was the big... Oh no, you might have been on the beginning season. I'm not sure. Were you?
You tell me.
I think you must have been.
I don't know. It's been so long. I can't remember.
I know.
I'm impressed.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was January of this year. This pod has been going for 2 years now. So...
Yes. I got the notification on Instagram that it had been 2 years since we first released it, and
I know
that's wild.
It's
congratulations, Poddy.
Well, yeah, we must have like a third birthday party if that
if it gets to that point. Throw a cake.
Definitely.
Throw a cake? Oh, it's my from this is carrying on from the other day when me and Fiona were recording the intro and I just couldn't get my words to piece together at all. I've put it down to the amount of suspensions we've been doing, just my head being above or below. Oh my word, let's just move on. I can't speak. So, obviously, this episode isn't just any normal Into MKDT episode. This is Into Love. So we're getting all into the Fields of Cupid, and no better than to get with our visual director here and really get into the visuals and the costumes that is the world of Fields of Cupid. So I just wanted to ask initially, like, going into the Fields of Cupid, what were your initial thoughts?
Oh, I'm going to be very honest. Fields of Cupid is like one of the wild cards for me. I usually have a really clear picture of what I know Owen is going to want, what I think the piece will look like, what kind of characters are in it. But because obviously this is such an original production from MKDT, I felt like I had like a clean palette, a completely clean slate, and it was kind of terrifying. It still is kind of terrifying. Like, there's no expectation from audience members about what the story is going to look like. So we can really go wild with it. So that's a bit scary.
I guess, though, in some ways, it's got to give you a bit of freedom as well. Like, there's no pressure as to how certain things would look like. I would not want to be on the costume team if I was doing something like Romeo and Juliet, because obviously it's so particular and so... It's so historic. So I guess in some way it's given you a bit more freedom.
Absolutely. Yeah, that is a very good point. More freedom. And also, yeah, there's no predetermined ideas about characters. I mean, I guess you have the stereotypical Cupid. I can safely say we will not be diving into Harry wearing a nappy or anything like that. Like, that's definitely not the direction.
Massive plus.
Yeah. Oh, Harry. Yeah. Harry's had some wild costumes. I will not be adding nappy to his repertoire.
Fun fact, though, I don't know why I know this, but the actual, like, bit of Greek mythology going into Roman mythology lore here, that Cupid was only turned into a baby because soldiers used to fear the image of Cupid being like this grown-up man because they feared the power of love. So they turned them into a baby, so it infantilized it. And they didn't like the fact that obviously Aphrodite was Cupid's mum, and they didn't like the idea that a woman was in control of so much power. So they turned it into a baby. Like, it was a whole thing. It was just... Yeah. Because Cupid got younger and younger as the years went on. Anyway, I'll stop being a nerd.
No, that is such a good point. Like, I've been looking into Aphrodite at the moment, and the way that people are scared of her.
Oh, yeah.
Georgia's got so much power.
But going into, like, the whole aesthetic of the show, I know you love a Pinterest board. I know I see it pop up all the time in the staff chat of putting the mood board together. What were your initial impressions of what the aesthetic of Fields of Cupid was going to be?
So with Cupid, it is a bit like the same start point as Pandora. So I've got to create these two worlds. We've got the world of the humans and the world of the angels. Now, luckily, when you think of those two things, there is some obvious aesthetics that come to mind. So humans are obviously creatures of the earth. There's a lot of greenery. Owen's had this fantastic idea of using artificial grass on stage to show the kind of zones, if you like, where the humans are from and where the angels are from. So from there, I've literally worked ground up, if you like, and thought, right, well, the humans need to have this aesthetic of literal earth.
Yeah.
They need to look like they have been grown from the ground. And then the angels need to be completely juxtaposed. They need to look like they are made of starlight and clouds, you know what I mean? So it is like really two very strong starting points. And I think the aesthetic I'm going for is like very godly in the angel sense, like these new creatures. I want them to look so separated from the humans so that they're all ethereal and higher than and these kind of almost alien-like beings. And then the humans to be grassy and green and
Grounded.
and I think that's really reflected in your movement as well. You two will know as humans
Yeah.
that all of your movement is so grounded. So that theme of literally being from the ground, from the earth, is so strong for the humans. So why not present it in your costume, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
How have you found your experience as an angel in the cast so far? Because you've mentioned that we're cast as humans, but Liv is within the angel cast.
I am. I'm not going to lie, it was really scary. Although I've been classically trained for a long time, I find neoclassical to be a real challenge. It starts, obviously, it has ballet roots and it has a lot of classical base, but it is just a whole new level of technique that I think pushes even the most highly trained dancer to their limits. So the angel choreography is really hard. I do struggle with it, but I'm really enjoying the challenge, and it's so fantastic to be surrounded by so many dancers who I actually think feel the same. It's nice to see that we're all in the challenge together and being pushed together as a group. And it's really nice to be a part of that. Although I have to say, I was really proud of myself. So, you girls all know, as you kind of go through your dance career, I feel like sometimes it feels like your progress is kind of plateauing out a bit and you're not making the same steady progress that you used to. Obviously, I'm not doing as many dance classes as I used to. And so I feel like sometimes Sundays are a struggle, right?
Absolutely.
And I usually wake up.
I feel that.
Yeah, right. I usually wake up on a Monday morning and like, oh, hang on, I'm actually really sore.
My arms
I can feel
today.
the work from
Yeah.
yesterday.
That I didn't used to. But I woke up this morning and felt actually a lot stronger. So I am starting to see the progress that is being made for this production, which is great.
Real.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
It's good. Do you think that obviously being part of the humans cast, not humans cast, angels cast, what am I going on about? I'm still doing it. I can't speak. Oh well. What has it helped you sort of inform the ways in which the costumes are going to be made? Has it given you any more inspo? Has it added anything on, taken anything away? Like, give us the details.
Always, yeah. It's been a couple of times now where I've been lucky enough to be part of the design team and the cast, and it is such an asset because this time, for example, me and Owen both kind of started on the same page that the angels need to have this kind of floaty feel, almost like Undertakers, if you have seen that costume. Very flowy, a lot of fabric. And then as the choreography has been developed, we've both noticed this use of their arms as their wings and how it would be a shame to cover that up with fabric. You know, the muscularity that is being used there. So it is completely, we've kind of 180'd it, and the flowiness is gone.
The less is more
now,
vibe is.
There is now less fabric, and we want to show off the dancers' arms. And there's been something similar for the humans, actually. Obviously, I'm also lucky enough to watch the humans rehearsals, which is always a delight. I love watching you guys. And it's the same thing. You are doing such lovely work with your arms and your legs, and it's so physical that it is just would be a shame to hide that in a big baggy costume, you know?
Yeah.
So it always is such an interesting experience to watch the choreography develop, and it definitely influences how the costume needs to look.
So can you give us any sort of direct details as to how the humans will look, how the angels will look, or is that still top secret and am I pushing the boat too far?
She's trying to get the inside scoop.
Of course I am.
The deets.
Oh, I'll give you some. I'll be generous.
Thank you.
So with the humans, as I said, we are going to really work from the ground up. So I think the current plan, now it is still early days, no purchases have been made. But currently I'm looking to include, you know, actual fake foliage in your costume. So use a base. Yeah, use a base and actually attach things not only to your clothes but to your hair, your body. See how we can actually make it look like you have been lying in a forest.
Wow.
And things have grown over you until these characters, these angels, come along and kind of bring you to life, if you like.
Yeah, until that disturbance.
Exactly.
From where we were, yeah.
You'll know the scene I'm thinking of. If you're
Yeah.
listening and you don't know the scene, you'll have to buy your tickets.
Hey!
This is why she's we bring her on a lot. She
knows how to plug.
she does my job for me. I don't have to do it anymore.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And then, like I said, for the angels, we are looking at bare arms,
Ooh.
no sleeves. We want to see their port de bras really exposed. Sorry, angels, you're going to have to work. And then I won't reveal too much about what we've got planned hair and makeup wise, but it is definitely a direction that we haven't seen before for MKDT.
Ooh. I love seeing that. I love seeing... Although, I think because we're quite an early doors company, anything that we do is unseen.
Honestly, every time I come on here, I feel like I'm saying something is unseen, but actually, it's just because we're on our, 6th production?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's all completely different every time.
All I could think about was when you were talking about the foliage was just how we won't need to find a way to attach that to mine and Fiona's hair because it will stick.
Just
Curly
shove it
girls.
in. It'll be fine.
I can just think, like, you won't need to put foliage in our hair because ours will just, like, scrape off the astroturf as it goes along.
Please. No, I'm trying to figure out in my head how we're going to be, like, turning and sliding within this astroturf. But that's a story for another day.
For another day.
We'll work it out.
You know what? It will be so impressive on your CVs once you've done it, girls, so don't even worry about it.
Danced on astroturf.
Wow, that ticks a box. Yep.
So, also, we have to get into the main man himself, which is Cupid. Is there anything specific going on with his costume detailing? You know, can we get a bit more of an inside scoop on our leading man?
Well, actually, for once, we are trying to make uniformity, is that a word?
Yeah.
Uniformness quite central for this piece. Usually, I try and make everyone look really individual, create characters within the costume. But I feel like we have done that, and I want to go a different direction for this piece. And I think this piece is a really good opportunity for that because we have however many angels and however many humans, and they need to look pretty identical to one another.
Yeah, we don't have many significantly named characters within this piece anymore, so
No.
it's an
Exactly.
interesting route to...
So even those people who are named are gonna be in the same costume as the others in their cast, maybe elevated by extra makeup or hair pieces. This performance is definitely gonna be reliant on its hair and makeup team.
Maybe we need to drag on the hair and makeup team. Who is the hair and makeup
Oh,
team?
absolutely, yeah. Get Tammy and Gemma on the case.
Oh, bless them.
Have to say it's not my strong point. You have to get someone else in for that one.
Yeah, I feel that.
I love the hair and makeup part. I just feel like for some reason, you know, like those Revolution palettes you get with like the sparkly black eyeshadow. I've had to buy like 5 of those over the time I've been at MKDT for the amount of black eyeshadow that I've used.
Yeah.
It's been insane, but I love it. I love the insane makeup. I think some of my favourite costumes have come about because of the fact that there's been insane makeup with them. Like what I would do to strut about looking like Hephaestus every day, it would just be like I genuinely would do that. It's a power move and I love it.
Yeah, and I think it's something that not everybody has access to in local theatre, so it's just amazing that we have the opportunity to work with people who have such creative ideas for hair and makeup, and it really elevates the whole performance and the costume, so
Absolutely.
really grateful for that. Yeah,
Definitely. Right, well, thank you very much, Liv, for coming on and filling us in
it's a pleasure.
on all things costume. We're talking to everybody on the team. So what I would like to, just as a final question, is to say, what are you looking forward to seeing on Show Week?
Oh, to be honest, I'm really looking forward to hearing the soundtrack. I love the music for this production.
Oh, it is to die for.
Not only is there some like classic pieces of music in this, like proper classical bangers, but there is some more modern contemporary music that you guys would have heard on Sunday.
Absolutely.
That is just gonna be so powerful in an auditorium. I can't wait to see audience reaction to that piece. And also the set, I think, for this production is going to be wild. Plans that are in place for curtains. Now, usually that sounds really boring, but trust me, there are some wild things, and I just can't wait to see it come together. I can see it in my mind, but it's always such a different experience when you see it in person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right, well, thank you very much again for coming on. And now we'll be heading over to Jess to get a little bit more of an insight into everything that is choreo, everything that is character, and just adding on a little bit more insight into the world of contemporary in this piece. So thank you very much, Liv, and we'll see you now, Jess.
Thanks very much. You're in for a treat with Jess. Have a nice chat.
So, as we just said, we are now here with the one and only Jess Yo. So, Jess.
Hi.
Tell me, how are you doing? How is the world of Jess going on currently?
I'm doing great. I'm busy, I'm working, but I'm doing what I love. Been TAing, teaching. We've got our MKDT mini intensive moment coming up soon. So, yeah, I'm feeling like there's a lot of momentum behind me at the moment.
Love that. I love to hear that, especially during this time in the rehearsal process when it can almost get a bit like, not another Sunday. It's good to hear that you're pushing on and you're feeling good. So obviously this is Into Love. So what was your role coming into Fields of Cupid, and what were you expecting to get your hands into?
So I have kind of a split role. I'm running 2 parallel lives with this production. Because I am, first of all, assistant choreographing, rehearsal directing the humans.
Yeah.
So that involves me teaching contemporary class, running the DGs, the development group alongside.
Of course.
And then working with Owen to sculpt the choreo and the story for the humans using the contemporary movement vocabulary. And then I'm actually dancing as an angel as well this time. Yeah, because I felt like I was missing the neoclassical really. And it's something I don't really get any of on my degree. Because it's so MKDT specific. Like, I've never found the neoclassical style anywhere but MKDT.
It's quite niche.
Like, it's very niche and it's a unique selling point. So if you want to experience neoclassical, come here.
Yeah, come visit MKDT.
Exactly. Because, I mean, we have ballet, we have contemporary, we have such a range of styles at LCDS. But I was like, I need a bit of neoclassical in my life.
Yeah.
So I'm dancing as an angel in the morning or the afternoon, and then putting on my rehearsal director hat and switching on over.
Yeah.
Because it must be like a good break to obviously get your hands into like a character when I presume at college you're doing quite a lot of drills, it's quite a lot of set work. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but...
Yeah, it's a real mix, because I feel like sometimes at uni we're on our own track and you're sort of managing your own personal pathway, because they encourage us to be so reflective and like take what you want from each style, choose what you want to take away from ballet, choose what to leave in contemporary, choose what to take from popping and things like that. So it's really refreshing actually to come into the Angels and be part of like a body of dancers where we're creating like an overall image, and like carrying a story as well is something that I really love. And just embodying a piece of music to like communicate a story is one of the main reasons why I dance.
Of course.
So it's so nice just to do that with such an amazing group of people as well.
And like how are you finding just the angel rehearsals in particular? Is it as intense as you thought it was going to be? Is it giving you everything that you were hoping for when you were searching for some more neoclassical? How are we finding it?
Yeah, it's been really interesting actually, because I took a break from the neoclassical style just when I moved away to go to uni, and coming back to it I feel like I've approached it with such a new and fresh like approach or like set of eyes.
Yeah.
And I think like having experienced a lot of different teachers, a lot of different styles of contemporary, even like the hip hop foundations. I'm finding things in neoclassical that's like, oh, like this feeling in my back is like the level of tension I need in my muscles in popping. So like before, when I knew neoclassical as coming from ballet, I looked at it in a certain way, but now I'm approaching it as more from contemporary. It's like, it's like a whole new style, a whole new world.
I'm glad to hear that.
We love to hear the freshness, the newness.
Not that your role as a choreographer is new, because you've choreographed alongside Owen for quite a few MKDT productions now. But how has working with the humans been different for you?
I think there's a lot of focus on the movement this time, and like really, really deep diving into the groundedness. Especially, I think it all come together with the set, with the humans being like constrained, or their parameters are set by the astroturf.
Yeah.
So we've really discussed that they are like creatures of the earth. So it's been like, how do we really extract that groundedness to show that they're not just humans because they're on the astroturf, they're humans because they look like they're made of the earth and the elements. So I think really just deep diving into that and giving the humans such a good amount of time to explore that as well. And like breaking down things in so much detail. Like, Dani, I know you love a backwards roll.
Oh, they're my favourite. They're my fave.
Yikes!
But you've got it now, you've got it down. Knees
Oh,
past the nose
God.
and all that jazz.
I think my talents when it comes to backwards rolls end there. I don't think it can.
All you need is a backwards roll in your back pocket, so that when Owen says backwards roll, you're like, okay, fine, moving on. It's all about just expanding your repertoire.
It kind of leads on to quite a good question, actually, about the technical training when it comes to MKDT during Fields of Cupid, and how do you find that this bout of rehearsals has pushed the technical training at MKDT? Like when we're taking a deeper dive in contemporary or into neoclassical, do you think it's significantly harder than what we've produced before in terms of what you guys are delivering, or is it just different?
I don't think it's necessarily harder, but I think we're challenging you guys to think about it in a different way and really assess like what are the key foundations of the style, like what makes contemporary, what makes neoclassical different to that, and giving the time for like discussion, exploration as well. Like in my classes, I've tried to bring in some more improvisational tools, and I know we've played with that a bit in the past rehearsals. So it's not necessarily harder, but I feel like it's more challenging the way that you look at technique, taking it away from just being like a warm-up. So rather than doing class for cardio, we'll do class to really like tune into our bodies, tune into the style, and then we get on with the rehearsals.
Where would you say your inspiration has mainly come from for the choreography, or is it lots of different sources? Because obviously the set is quite unique in terms of what we visited before. Is that something that's influenced how you've looked at it this time?
So I think it's interesting because Owen and I have been working together. So it's that sort of, you don't often have to look too deep within yourself to find inspiration because we bounce off each other so well. But I think if I had to draw external reference points, as quite a Hoffer-Schechter influence.
Absolutely.
Love.
Because Owen's been training in the Romberg grades, and one of their performance strands is you can either do Alessandro Soutin or Hoffer-Schechter.
Love a bit of Hofesh.
So it's love a bit of Hofesh. So it's that sort of grounded nature, a little more animalistic than maybe you guys are used to.
Yeah, definitely.
And then away from dance, inspiration, like I said, being the set and the earth. And groundedness and weightedness.
So when we're coming into rehearsal and just over the process, what have you been quite excited to get into, and what are you excited to create choreographically in terms of obviously the human strand?
I find so much joy in partner work. I really love depending on someone else and having someone else depend on me. So personally, building those duets and like contact moments and finding new lifts, and I enjoy just being like, hang on, I'm just going to lift you up. Are you okay if I lift you up? And then they're like, yep. And then I'm like, okay, send your legs over my shoulder. And that sort of like play is so joyful for me. I think after last Sunday, or I'm not sure when this will be because of time of recording.
Of course.
But I was so excited about the penultimate human scene that we built.
Absolutely.
It was snaz. It was real snaz. We did enjoy it a lot.
Yes.
It was amazing. I felt like the drama of the music. I mean, I don't want to give away any spoilers. You'll have to come and see for yourselves. But we used
Are
this
we getting
track.
another ticket promo? Because Liv did, like, my job.
She's like, if
Are
you
we
buy
slipping
your
one in there?
tickets, slid it in
just
there.
just saying, they're on sale. Yeah, and I just loved seeing all the humans, I feel like really full-bodied, eating up the space, throwing themselves into it. And everyone was just exhausted by the end of the rehearsal. But
for
I
real?
could feel the endorphins.
Yes.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yes, the amount of adrenaline running through me.
Yeah.
Because I was so nervous about this choreography to begin with because it was so fast paced. But once you caught up with it, it was so great to just throw yourself into it.
Yeah, and it felt like such a creative space to be in because we had all of the development group lined up at the front. We were sharing in groups. Owen was going with group 1, I was going with group 2, and then Owen would be with group 3. So everyone was like
bless him.
involved.
So you've mentioned there, obviously, the development group.
Yes.
And I wanted to open the floor here. How have you found working with them over the process so far? And do you have any words that you can maybe say to the group if they're listening about how they're getting on?
I think it's really important that there's a sense of progression within the company.
Yeah.
And for people being able to see where they can go and what they can aspire to, because it's not a hierarchy, but it's a pathway.
Absolutely.
Where can you steer yourself if you want to? Like, they can see options. With the technique class, it's been a challenge as a teacher to really distill, like,
Definitely.
what are the key elements that everyone in this room can share about the style.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of range of ages and abilities, but what I've been really enjoying is watching the seniors teach the development group things and watching the development group teach the seniors.
Yeah.
I find the development group have such a freedom when they move, especially when they improvise.
Absolutely.
There's like absolutely no inhibitions, no expectations. And I feel like that nurtures a really brave environment for all the seniors as well to jump into that when there might be a few more hesitations.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it's just so lovely to see the seniors as well passing down little nuggets of wisdom, nuggets of encouragement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with the rehearsal, it's also helped me having the development group in there because it helps me sort of narrow down what are we trying to say with this scene. If we had to say this scene using like simple vocabulary, what would it be? And in that way, it helps with the storytelling.
Definitely.
And not getting too caught up in the aesthetics of it all.
Yeah.
So if you're listening development groups, you're doing amazingly, but you're also inspiring everyone around you.
100% agree with that.
I find it is such a positive start to the day, whether they're in my classes or I'm seeing them working with the angels in neoclassical. Their participation and enthusiasm is, you can feed off of it as a group. It's so wonderful.
Yeah.
I think just the Fields of Cupid production in general could almost have that sort of metaphor. I think that this time round it's definitely a production of lessons.
Yeah.
It's many lessons learnt, and you know, I have definitely walked away thinking that every time I've walked into the rehearsal space I've come out with learning something I never really thought was going to be a part of my contemporary lesson, but it like lessons in resilience and lessons in just being like when I come towards a hurdle, how do I get over that without resorting to means of just being frustrated? How do I respond to that? And I feel like everybody's sort of taken those lessons in some way. I hope it's not just me learning how to not get frustrated at not being able to do a backwards roll. Like
honestly, but like that's what I hope to nurture as a teacher as well, because dance gives you so much that exists outside of the studio walls. Like life skills are developed, ways of communicating, like you said, resilience, so much more than the backwards roll.
Just every time I go over, I just think resilience, Danielle, resilience. You got it.
This is teaching me something about myself.
My backwards roll is my emotional journey. I just take one every time I go over.
If you can overcome the backwards roll, you can overcome anything.
Absolutely.
You know what they say.
So, just as like a final wrap up to what has been a very, very knowledgeable conversation about Fields of Cupid, other than just obviously the different styles choreographically, how would you describe maybe the similarities and differences in the movement between the humans and the angels?
That's a really tricky question, actually. Differences are in where you place your centre of gravity. Like, angels are pulled up, angels exist on like a medium to high level, whereas humans is like this sense of dropped, like your centre of gravity is low and you're sharing like the mid-level and the low level. But I think what the angels and the humans do share is this sense of like full-bodiedness.
Yeah.
There's nothing half about any of it. It's muscular, it's physical, it's taking up space. And I think that's why I'm finding so much joy in being a part of both strands.
So thank you very much, Jess, for coming on once again to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I always enjoy getting the staff team back on, because it's always a very learned experience, I like to think. If I want to be posh about it, if I want to be not posh about it, I learn a lot.
Inspiring input, as always.
So, just as a sort of final wrap-up, and I've been asking everybody that's coming on this, what are you excited to see on show week?
Ooh, I have to say, like, the warm-ups,
The warm-ups.
the warm-ups, they bring me so much joy. The collectivity, is that a word?
We'll go
Collective
with it.
energy, the squats.
The thigh burns.
Sorry, Liv Marchant, I did listen to your episode.
Olivia is waking right now.
Oh my God.
I won't make her do double, though.
Yeah, no, the collective
No.
energy and the way that it really does prep you for a performance. It really works.
Definitely.
It gets us connected as a group. Yeah.
Tried and tested. Here we are.
Do you know what? I really hope we get to do a little bit of second show mindfulness that we did last time as well. Where
That
we just...
was hilarious.
What music cut out and it just went to...
It was so peaceful. I was doing like a guided meditation and it was to some tranquil piano playlist,
You know,
or
the
something.
classic. Yeah.
The classics, and we were grounding ourselves, we were feeling our body, full body scan, and then the music cut out and Bomb 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 by Sam and the Womp started playing. It was intense.
Like,
and it ruined
okay,
the
that's
vibes.
jogging. Let's go. Let's
yeah.
go.
Oh, bless.
But that will go down in history.
Yeah. Definitely.
So, again, thank you very much for coming on. And, of course, Jess did mention that their tickets are available on the website. And that is www.mkdancetheatre.com. But I'm sure I will repeat myself when we hand back over to myself and Fiona at the end of this episode, live again, where you'll see our faces. So thank you very much, Jess, for coming on, and we'll see you now.
Thank you so much. See you.
Thank you so much to our guests that have come on.
That was a lot of information.
Yes.
And hopefully
My goodness.
we've been able to give you a much greater insight into what is the Fields of Cupid, because we can say, buy your tickets here, come to our production that, but if you actually don't know what we're going on about, that's not going to help, is it?
Yeah.
So hopefully today we've given you a much greater insight. I've certainly learned a lot.
Especially into the beginnings of the
Absolutely.
foundations of what we are really working on here.
Yeah. So with that being said, this brings it to a close. This is Into Love Part 1. Ooh! I know, okay. We've got some very, very exciting stuff coming up for show week. I'm very, very excited to get even deeper into the world of the Fields of Cupid. But with that being said, make sure that in the meantime you follow us on all of our platforms so that you never miss Fields of Cupid, little tidbit of information, or any uploads that we do about MKDT in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, we keep you guys entertained, so why not give us a little subscribe down below, or hit that notification bell, or even make sure that you follow us on Spotify or anywhere that you listen to us if you're still listening, so that you can download us straight to your phone, hot off the press. Make sure that you miss absolutely nothing.
So, MK Dance Theatre on all our platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Absolutely, and that is where you can send any of our feedback. Obviously, we love a bit of feedback. We love to know what you guys are thinking. If there's anything you want us to talk about, even if it is just something really, really random, of course, we would love to hear from you. Yeah. And we'd love to hear your critiques as well, and if you've got anything that you want to say, or even if it's just to say, well done guys, you're doing great, like, we'll have that, we'll take that.
Yeah.
Yay.
Definitely.
So make sure that you reach out on all of those platforms, and of course, it can't be an Into Love episode without saying buy your tickets.
Yeah.
The tickets are available. They have been available now for quite a while, but you can still make sure that you get one of those prime seats at the MK venue. And the tickets are available at
www.mkdancetheatre.com.
Absolutely.
With 3 W's.
3. Oh my gosh, 3 is a W. Oh, this is so exciting.
Ridiculous. Anyway, that website is where you'll find, all things MKTT, alumni, gallery, all things from past shows, and most importantly, as of right now, Fields of Cupid tickets.
Absolutely. Come see our faces, and we'd love to see you. I'd love for somebody who is completely not related to MKDT at all at the moment to come in and go, it's Dani and Fiona! I would absolutely...
Us come out into the front of house after a performance.
But with that being said, we really do hope you've enjoyed this episode, and in the meantime, bye!